I'm here on a Friday. Happy Friday. Hope your beginning of your weekend is going well. I have so much to talk about, and um, it's been a whole day. There's been a lot of buildup in my brain. Um, I still want to continue with the personality stuff, but it's bringing it's what's happening is I'm trying to tie in together so many things at once in my head, which is not that uncommon, but it's happening kind of spontaneously. So I'm trying to like do it in little bits and pieces. So I think I'll give you some of it today. I'll chip away at this a little bit each day. Let's say that. Hey, Cynthia, what's up? Good to see you. So I do well. Let me give you an update on the stream. Chris and I are going to do our own thing right now, and he's been streaming lately. He did a stream yesterday, I think, um, talking about video games, you know, games and movies, and it was fantastic. Does I think he's doing really good work in that genre. I think he's pioneering something on YouTube that is going to be what a lot of people are gonna relate to and look for. So support Chris. Here's his channel. There you go. And just subscribe and stuff so you'll know he streams spontaneously, so you'll catch his streams. But I definitely I support what he's doing. I recommend you check him out, give him support, etc. As far as this channel, it's always been intended to be a mental health channel, so it's going to continue to be that. Especially we have what 6, 7 more days left, another week of Mental Health Month. So I'm going to try to get a few more topics in. If anybody wants to come on and talk about mental health, share their story, etc., we can get that in. Of course, you're welcome to do that anytime, but if you want to have it highlighted and featured for Mental Health Month. So that's the plan for the next week or so. And it's still kind of the 15 or 20 minutes of topic and then open up the panel and take it from there. The evening streams, which I'll probably do one tonight, is just going to be straight up third space open panel. I hope that the community is still out there. This is still intended to be a community project, which means I am now open for collaborators. I mean, I always have been collaborating. I'm open to continue to do that. I guess that is to say there is room now for fresh creation, fresh collaboration. Hey, Jack. It was good actually. Much needed, but the downside was that I have so much built up in my brain now. I have like a whole like 2 days worth of material that I'm trying to cram into 15 minutes now. So that that was really the only downside. But it was very much the break that I needed. And I hung out a little bit last night on Satanism Street. That was kind of inspirational. And I had a spiritual experience, and I want to talk about that too, because it's going to lead up to today's topic. So I am a collaboration whore. I will collaborate with just about anybody. Not the Thorpes. Don't send them my way. Probably not the other cavalcade of usual trolls that I won't collaborate with. But outside of that, I am open for collaboration, particularly if it's related to community building, mental health, etc. So get with me. Let's get something going. In the meantime, we still have this space. For if it's for those to whom it continues to be useful, I will still keep it going every day, and probably in the evening as well. Okay, spiritual experience. I've done a few streams on this. Like, I've been on this quest to try to figure out what is spirituality? What is the spiritual in a secular, kinda naturalistic worldview like we live in and I share today. Um, People that don't believe in supernatural entities, deities, anything like that, but still this grew out of, like, my Satanism story thing, like, happened just before COVID, etcetera, and it was my transition from atheism to having an actual religion. I was very serious about it, and as part of that, it brought in the concept of spirituality, which as an atheist, I had never needed or paid attention to or anything. And so I found when I tried to, as an experiment, go back to atheism and say, well, if Satanism is just cosplay or archetypes or whatever, if it's not providing anything actually religious and or spiritual, then you're basically just an atheist. Just go back to being an atheist. You're an atheist with cool T-shirts and an awesome pair of antlers. And but I couldn't. I said there's something like Satanism is giving me something that atheism didn't. What that something is what I've been trying to figure out the last 4 years. And I'm kind of putting it under the heading of spiritual for now and tying it into my quest to figure out kind of what spirituality is in a natural world or our modern natural secularized scientific world. I'm gonna go back to give me 1 second. There was a definition from this book by Harold Bloom, The American Religion. Very good book. It's a very interesting take on uh, modern Christianity in America, which he calls post-Christian, because it doesn't resemble traditional European Christianity or even the traditional mainstream Protestant Christianity here in the United States. What it actually resembles is a form of Gnosticism. So you might check it out just for that. But he gives a definition in here of religion, and I was kind of using that as a starting point. And again, I did a few streams on this, but I want to go back to this definition because it ties into my spiritual experience from last night, which I'm going to try to tie into these levels of personality development thing. All right, here's his definition, and he's taking it from well, he doesn't say actually. He's paraphrasing. He says it's an old surmise among students of religion following so and so that the gods and God are belated in questions of religion. Whatever the religious or the spiritual is, preceded or comes before any formation of it into any particular deity or god or gods or even the concept of gods. It's something even more prime. So here he goes. At the origin, there is the manifestation of the sacred as power, and there is the human experience as object of power. So it's something in our experience is experiencing a power, some sort of power that's acting on that experience. The power can be an indifferent destiny rather than a god or gods. Again, I'm thinking of the people that kind of feel like they're being controlled or that we have no free will. But that's an aside. The power can be an indifferent destiny rather than a god or gods, or it can be a force that intervenes, whether benignly or malevolently, but still without a consciousness or personality of its own. Whatever it is, to be surprised by it is to be avoided if possible. Awareness and observation are necessary in regard to it, and probably preceded worship or reverence as the proper human stance toward a more than human power. So I'm kind of using that definition as a starting point of a more than human power. Now, that more than human power just like technology and other things that humans have created can come from the human, and one of those more than human powers for me has always been art, has always been music, rock music, um, other forms, certain movies, certain scenes in movies, particularly books, literature, great really great poetry, um, that kinda stuff, the arts. So last night, I was watching a documentary on Walt Whitman, the poet, and I did been intending to show it for a while, but I hadn't seen it in a few years. So I had, like, these past few years of streaming and all the topics that come up on here. So as I was watching this documentary, which I had seen 3 or 4 times before, and I've always enjoyed, it started to tie all of that together. This is the Walt Whitman lived during the period of the buildup to the Civil War. In fact, one of his most famous poems is an elegy on Abraham Lincoln, "When last in the dooryard the lilacs bloom," and, or "When last the lilacs in the dooryard bloom." And anyway, so a lot of the issues that America was going through or is going through now, they were going through then. So it's almost our times transposed into pre-Civil War, looked at through the figure of Walt Whitman as the poet that's kind of trying to tie it all together and describe it and unify it and even transcend it into something higher. He had a very lofty vision for the nation, and I've said before that to the extent that I consider myself a conservative, it is Whitman's vision of America that I'm trying to conserve, and this movie really brought it home to me. It's more powerful than any current movie, current YouTube video, documentary, anything. Like, if you wanna understand the, I guess, classical liberal or at least if you wanna understand my view of America, what it means to me, kinda how I see all of our current little crises and stuff, whether manufactured or genuine, um, this is the lens that I see it through or that reflects how I see it more than any other film out there. So it was super powerful. In fact, I didn't even finish, I had to turn it off. So back to the spiritual. What I started to realize, I was shaking. My body was trembling. I had tears pouring out of my eyes. I was overcome with emotion from just the power of this vision, this poetry, and the images and the graphics that the producers and creative people were blending to them. It just all came together. It was like that's one thing that art does. Really good, great, powerful art can unify so many things into one work, one one image, one unified experience. And this one packed it had that, like, supercharge of everything all at once, which is reflective of what Whitman was trying to do anyway. So you have Whitman who's trying to do it with his poetry, and this documentary is trying to do it with American life, and then I was trying to do it with everything that's been happening in my life. So it was like this recursive cycle or dialectic of all of this attempt to unify and transcend, and that's what it came to me that you have the body, the physical, and Whitman's poetry is all about the body, and you have the emotional system, the sex drive, our primitive drives, anger, aggression, desire, etcetera, that supervene the physical, and you have the intellectual that kind of develops from that, and it's kind of a higher or a more comprehensive or complex organizing, um, o organized system compared to the emotions, compared to the body, etcetera. So in the secular world, that is the highest we have, that intellect, our creativity, creative genius, etcetera. So the spiritual must be whatever supervenes on that as the intellect supervenes on the emotional sexual, primitive, primal, as that supervenes on the physical. And I felt like through this art, this experience of this movie, I started to touch something. The reason I know how like it supervened is because it started to unify all of the other domains. I started to feel it physically, bodily, emotionally, mentally. It was generating this explosion of just thoughts and ideas and all of that. But that wasn't the sum of the experience. There was something more than just those three or four things. So there has to be something above that that contains the rest of that. And just like our mind can be aware of our emotion and our body and our physicality, it can all bring it into awareness and unified under consciousness. There seems to be perhaps something that can unify the mind, emotion, body, something larger than just that. And so that little glimpse is the most precise and definite I've been able to be so far about spiritual. When I'm at the edge of that, the cusp of it, I get that feeling of power. It can come from art, come from nature. I've told stories about being out in the desert and how spiritual that was, and it can come from, for me, sexuality, the BDSM, the porn, the energies, power dynamics that we work with, some of us in the kink community. So all of that is that kind of form of unifying power, and I wanted to offer that because a lot of these personality levels we're gonna talk about at the top is something that, if not the spiritual, stands in for the spiritual. So I wanted to kind of put that out there so we could tie that in at that top level when it's time. Hey, Bex, let me catch up on comments real quick. Um, now I just want to smoke weed and think about it. Yeah, it kind of does that to you. Yeah, I'm beginning to think that's what the Satanism was leading me to. I'm like, I can't. There's more than just atheism. Like Buddhists, there are secular Buddhists that meditate and transcendental meditation that kind of feel it or encounter it. There are artists, musicians that do it when they're working at the edges of their creativity. There are scientists at the quantum level. So, human at any given time in history, humans have never known their actual boundaries. Generations have come on later that have transcended them to the point where you look back and like, wow, that's where we thought our stopping point was. No way. Then we have Frank contributing his trenchant literary criticism. Um, we spend enough time. It's at least the activity of thinking about it itself at least has value for several ways because I think it organizes. I think we have simple, basic emotions like the primary color that it helps to organize into these higher, complex emotions, and the activity itself, if we do it enough or in the right way or whatever, can lead us to that edge of that kind of spiritual layer that I'm been trying to describe. Yeah, I like this. Okay, real brief. I want to. My audio is wonky. Let me look. It might be my mic going out again. Is it? Is it? Let me know because I can switch to headphones to continue if I need to. Give me a thumb or a finger, something. Audio okay? All right. Well, I just want to give you an idea of these models and let you know that they're out there, and then we're gonna get into more detail with them. This is gonna be a multi-part thing. So here we go. I'm just gonna share some screen. Problem is, all right, here we go. All right. First, I want to mention real briefly, nerdy philosophy stuff. The basic undergirding our model or structure for all of this is there's a strong Neoplatonic component to it, which is a Hellenistic development Plotinus was one of the main figures, and it's an emanative theory of being. So it has like God or the good or the one at the top, and then he it emanates into like the mental intellectual world, what he calls the nous or nous, Nous, and from there it emanates into the soul or psyche or more emotional world, which emanates into gross matter or concrete matter, like crystallizes into physical matter. So you have physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and the Neoplatonic system. And most of these models I'm going to show you, I think you'll recognize the similarity underneath. Um, Frank, I think you have just innovated and entrepreneurial. I think we need to get a patent for that stat and get this marketed and branded. But quick, I'm serious before someone else gets to it. Um, Everybody could have their podcast headphone antlers on, or whatever, or animal of their choice. Xenogender. Oh wow, Auntie, is that happening? Well, I'm going to touch on that a little bit today when I talk about disintegrative crises, and you can see if it resonates, and we can talk about it as an entire topic um, after that. Hey, midlife, what's up? I'm doing the nerdy philosophy stuff real quick, and then I'm going to open the panel. All right, so uh, okay, images. Here we go. Here's one you might be familiar with. This is from Kabbalah. It's Tree of Life. Um, I encountered this when I was in my early 20s doing my astrology and new age stuff, and it absolutely it like rewired my entire brain. What it is, it's kind of a organizing system. It's like catalog. These are categories, and it helps to organize every phenomena you can ever encounter, both internally and in the entire cosmos, and the relationships between these categories. And all of a sudden, everything I encountered started fitting into this box. So it related this way and this way. And then, like, I don't think anything jump started my brain to a next level more than this tree of life diagram for years and years. I think the physical layer, here you have the sexual, this is intellectual, emotional, creative, which for like most people in the world, this is the highest level of spirituality, and you can also reach it through art, etc. This is probably close to what I touched last night. And this is the more personal, psychological, like intellect, emotions, sexual body. Here you move into what they call the moral triangle, which becomes more social and communal. This is mercy, compassion. This is severity, wrath, anger, and those two forces, like the forces of justice, being in balance, etc. Here you have the archetypes that underlie the unity, female. Oh, um, what's happening? Oh, my sound just cut off. Sorry. Where am I? Can y'all hear me? I lost my screen. Oh, can y'all see the? Am I still in the? Yeah, I still am. Okay. Um, and they actually have here. They have an actual zone or barrier that you work to cross to get to these higher levels. Okay, that's one. Let's do a few more. This one you're probably very familiar with, and this one I believe comes from Easter. It's not even a Western system, but you have oh, before I show this, I want to show this other diagram that you've seen before. Two of them actually. Okay, you should be familiar with this one by now. You have actually, sorry, getting organized. This is the one I wanted to show. Okay. Um, we're probably going to end up looking at this chart in great detail because it maps out so much to me so perfectly. But we talked before about the kind of the animal level and the sociopath criminal level. If it's lower IQ, higher IQ tends to be the corporate and political sociopaths that are able to do what they need to do to climb the ladder and stay at the top. acting out of animal instincts, and some of those instincts were the sexual instinct and aggression, and those are two of the instincts we try to socialize. And then self-preservation is that, saying and doing anything to keep yourself alive, like your own survival. Being kind of like on Survivor, the survivors are like, I will do anything to win the game, I will do anything to stay in this game, etc., that type of thinking. um and they get socialized in this kind of level, and Dabrowski calls this primary integration. And then you have these little crises, which usually show up as mental health crises, whether they're external from an external stressor or spontaneous internal crisis. And the normal pattern is to like go through the crisis, get help for it, and return back to your primary integration. But sometimes the crisis either keeps happening because it's part of a larger disintegrative process, or if the person has a high enough developmental potential or third factor, even if it's a temporary crisis, they can still use it to develop further instead of returning to primary integration. And that's what I mean by personality development. So when I talk about mental health is happening right here normally. Depression, anxiety, trauma, identity disruption, dissociation, etc. Dabrowski calls all of these psychoneuroses. So they happen here. They start to disintegrate some of this surface socialization and personality because of what's conflicting with it under the surface, etc. And then you kind of recover, return to baseline, etc. But there's also the option of post-traumatic growth, especially if it's intense enough or happens frequently enough, where you're not the same person afterwards, or either voluntarily or involuntarily. Like after my loss of Mike, there was no way I was going to ever be the same person. So that was kind of involuntary post-traumatic growth. But then after the relationship thing ended, that was an opportunity for me to voluntarily like use that as an opportunity. Like, how can I grow from this type of thing? So when you're on that path, you get into the higher levels of personality development. So the thing I want to focus on today is these primitive instincts, which is at the lower levels. We saw a lot of these models have the body, the physical, and then they have the sexual, emotional, or the what's called the psychic above that. So I want to go back to this other chart. Okay, these were the levels of self-determination, and it made the point that the people at the bottom have most likely been affected by long-term damage, etc. They're the hardest to help. They're more likely to damage the quality and foundation of the programs, the least self-determined, etc., because they're driven by animal instincts. That sounds a lot like that lower level of negatively maladjusted criminals and sociopaths that are working off of primitive instincts of aggression, sexual, etc. So you see a commonality here. Another commonality I want to point out is this threshold of independence. At the top, the most self-determining, you're reaching those higher spiritual levels, or what some people would call spiritual. A real quick look back at this chart, you have, again, this boundary or zone where it's a qualitative transition from unilevelness to multilevelness, which I'll explain on another stream, and you start to encounter these higher values of the personality ideal, etc. The tree of life has a zone before you reach the higher moral triangles of justice and mercy, and then the archetypes of the divine feminine, masculine, etc. So all of this happens through crisis, through the hero's journey, through struggle, adversity, etc. It's a path that's ideally chosen and directed to the extent that you can. The other thing I want to point out is these that thing I call developmental potential, that kind of determines whether you take that upward path or that path back down to primary integration. And either path is fine. Like primary integration is not unhealthy. And the upper path is not necessarily healthy, or can lead to very unhealthy outcomes if you do it wrong. So this is not a moral judgment about either path. It's intended to be strictly descriptive. But for some people, that developmental potential, or whatever underlying personality or higher value that's conflicting with this initial social instinct, like adjustment, that keeps contributing to these crises, that can lead to the people with enough of that can end up on that path of personality development despite themselves. So if you have very low developmental potential, if it's low enough, this is nature over nurture. If your nature is, I guess, stunted enough with no potential to even develop to the level of primary integration, that can overcome any kind of positive environment. These are your people that turn out to be sociopaths, psychopaths, criminals. You're like, I hesitate to use the word rotten egg. I definitely don't want to use the word problem child, but there's some people that are just, socialization is just not going to take, and they're going to be troublemakers in society. And that's this level down here where they don't have enough developmental potential just innately to get them to this first social level. And notice again, you have these arrows going up and down, and on that self-determination chart, you had those forces that can move you in either direction as well. So you see some more commonalities. At this level, the environment, this is the level where you try to give the child the best environment. You try to raise them the best way. You want to provide them with the environment that's going to most impact their developmental potential in the direction of a positive outcome. And so for most people, if it's equivalent, like if they're about equal, the environment is what's going to make the difference. Even with me, who I have a bit higher degree of developmental potential, I believe, at least in my own experience in my life. But even with that, the environments I were in were the deciding factor in whether, well, honestly, like I was on a bad path as a teenager with the school system and stuff. I was headed for jail or a life of like a hoodlum on the streets or something. And finding the right environments is what made the difference and allowed this socialization to happen. So even with the developmental potential, the environments were necessary and made a difference. Now, if you have enough developmental potential and a positive environment, those are forces that are going to help you move upward. But if you have strong enough developmental potential, it can overcome even a negative environment. So even if you're in an adverse environment, if you have enough innate drive, if you have that third factor, that whatever quality that you push to develop despite whatever's happening outside of you, that internal locus, if you have enough of that, and I've been in those situations too. I grew up in small towns where I had nothing in common with anybody around me, and I stood out like this, and nobody liked me, and I got a lot of harassment and negativity. I did my own thing and persisted despite that because I had enough of that developmental potential, and that the environment alone was not going to stop me. The school system was not going to stop me from learning. The people in this little town were not going to stop me from dressing how I wanted or listening to the music I wanted, etc., or hanging out with the people I wanted, etc. So I think a lot of that is some of this like just innate drive. Okay. I did want to get to the levels. I think I'm gonna save that for a part two. In this system, you can see right here there are 5 levels. The first level is this primary integration. Assuming it's successful, there's kind of a lower hell for the people that it done, or at least for the rest of us. Then you have like crises and stuff, and you start to, in the process of restoring these, you start to discover a hierarchy of values instead of kind of a flat plane of values. So the only other, and then you move up other levels beyond that. And I think I should save that for next week because I don't want to overload. The only other comment I want to make about this is as I go through this, I'm realizing that there's going to be some verticality, a vertical axis of people at the lower level with the just primal instincts, and then the socialized level, and then people that are starting to break through that social level. We talk about programming and waking up from programming, etc. Um, um, so I'm gonna move up and down this kind of vertical axis of development, mostly up at the higher levels. But then there's also like a historical development of this too, that goes back to Plato, Socrates, and before in Greece, and then the modern developments of it, like in the 18th, 19th century, and the modern manifestation. So there's kind of this historical chronological axis I'm going to be bringing in as well. So just kind of be aware of that. And I think that is enough for today. I'm going to put the link and open up the panel. And speaking of, there's a role playing game. You know, they had the Satanic Panic in the 80s with the Dungeons and Dragons. And then in the 90s, a different role playing game came out that kind of attracted a new audience to role playing. It was called Vampire the Masquerade. And all of a sudden, all the little goth kids and punk kids were playing this new, and it was set in the modern world. It wasn't fantasy based. And they developed other lines like werewolf and etc. And one of them was called Mage, and you're a human that discovers or awakens to a higher, what's called an avatar or a higher consciousness within you, that you're able to draw power from to kind of shape reality and do magic. And in the modern world, it's really it's kind of a war against people trying to hang on to their spiritual and magical traditions, and the technocracy that has taken control of reality. And reality in the mage system works under paradigm. So whoever controls the dominant paradigm and can get the masses to believe it actually controls how reality works. And in some paradigms, certain types of magic work, and in other paradigms, other types of magic work. And so in our modern world, the technocratic or technological scientific paradigm has won, and that is the one that most humans on the planet believe in. So all magic has to take the form of technology, and these other mages that have this like spiritual power are at war against this nameless, faceless machine that's dominating society and kind of usurping people's creativity, mental faculty, spiritual power. And it parallels so many of the conversations we have on this stream. There's shadowy conspiracies running the government. There's men in black. There's Illuminati. There's all of it. In fact, most of these conversations on here seem like they come out of the White Wolf World of Darkness universe, role-playing universe, than out of reality. Like, so it's what you would hear in a gaming shop of people playing vampire or werewolf or mage or one of those games in the 90s, and now you're hearing it on social media as if it's reality. And so I think it would be a really fun game to play if anyone's interested. I'm recruiting for it, so it's a good opportunity to kind of explore some of the stuff going on in the world and some of these mental paradigms and stuff. Anyway, did I put the link? Oh, I forgot. I got to talking. Come on up, sugars. I think I'm gonna grab a refill, so I'll find a little video to play for you, and then come. Unless some real quick. Let's see. Just multitasking here. Wow, hang on. Sorry, I'll be with you in just a second. All right, I'm back. All right, let me catch up on comments. Oh, it's hard doing a stream by myself and read comments. That is the benefit of having some co-hosts and a team. Walt Whitman, touching your butt, jealous, better beard, better physique, etc. Okay, Frank. Oh yeah, Auntie, I am interested in this desire to. Yeah, Doth. Okay, so that's the hidden Sephiroth, the throat one. All right. Well, at least y'all are having fun in the comments. Um, I'm not sure. I didn't catch this at the time you typed it, so I forgot what it was referring to. To thaw my bacon out. My mental powers are pretty tapped out lately, Frank. To be honest, that I put that together on fumes, and that's just the surface. I have like a whole look. Well, for me, it's not the Cynthia level, but watch y'all. This is a whole notebook of stuff that I need to somehow bring into the stream. This is my version of whole notebook, and that's all. So, and I don't ever write shit down. So, other than T-shirt slogans that I steal from all of you, but this is the first time I had to actually get a pen out and say, "Wait, there's so much in my brain here. I have to scribble it in my notebook." All right, let's see. Oh yes, Auntie, that will fuck you up. How long ago was it? Mine's been 15 years, but the secret about that is it can resurface as fresh as yesterday at any time. So time doesn't even matter. Because like today, that could start all fresh all over again. And I just have to constantly, when it happens, I have to like recover, like get it down to, I know how to like squash it now when it starts. But before it would consume me for weeks and weeks and months and months and months and years and years and years. And then we keep coming back and coming back and coming back, as a lot of trauma does. Sure, Frank, you are all sexy. You're sexy you're spiritually sexy in a spiritual way. Every one of you, most of you, some of you. See, oh, Auntie, oh God, okay, Auntie, I need to. This is real tea, real talk time. I was in a. I met someone else that is in the same situation as me, in that we are drawn to narcissists, sociopaths, abusive people, like that lower level of the personality spectrum that I talked about. My ex was brilliant IQ. He real fancy job at Microsoft, like super sharp, smart, but he had no development potential whatsoever. He was never going to develop conscience, empathy, awareness, or sensitivity to other human being, anything. He was so morbidly self-absorbed and imprisoned in his own ego. And he was at that lower level, even with the creativity and the genius and the smarts and the brilliance, all of that. So I'm drawn to those people, and so was this other person. So we were actually thinking about, is there a need for a support group or network for people? This is like our drug, our vice is these pathological soulmates that we can't help. I mean, you can't choose your soulmate, and so when it happens with these awful, rotten people, and exploring that and like helping each other avoid it and figure out why, etc. And so meeting other people like that always sparks interest in me. Hey, Smith, it's good to see you actually. In ape evolution, kind of, sort of, but and what I was talking about today is I'm my intuition was telling me, and now my mind, my rationality is starting to begin to justify, or able to justify, that it is more, it is not just a monkey on it. There is a little bit more. So I'm not a materialist, and I'm not a physicalist. I never have been a strict materialist or physicalist. I call myself a naturalist or a phenomenologist. and naturalists make room for mental phenomena, intellectual phenomena, emotional, psychological, without it having to necessarily be supernatural or superstitious or imaginary, as I like to say. Oh, well, see, I need that's some advice I need help with. I'm so compartmentalized when it comes to that. I know exactly what to do when I'm by myself and I got my porn, or with I'm with if I'm with an actual person, God forbid. But socially, I don't pick up on any, like, that is so invisible to me. Like, between other people when it's happening. And if I could figure out how to, we were working on boobs, and I was trying to summon an incubus, but the AI would not tell me how. But that was really more for personal reasons. But I was willing to sell my soul to him just for the stream. Okay, Daniel, I'm glad that you challenged me with this, because I want to tell you my subjective experience about this. I Mike, the guy lost, I would say was, we can do semantics, but I will tell you that is the closest I have been to a human being ever, including family, friends. It was like our minds merged, our heart or something. We were one being in two bodies. We thought at the same things at the same time. We felt the same things, etc. And when he passed away, and I was there, and I watched it separate, it was like the phantom limb phenomena, but phantom soul. Like, there was definitely a part of me that was not there anymore, and probably neurologically it's like this deep imprinting on the brain, etc., etc. But some powerful spiritual, or like when we made love, the first time we truly made love and connected, and got that, like, you can't tell where the other person ends and begins experience. That was, as an atheist, that was the highest spiritual experience of my life, and that includes psychedelics. So it takes that kind of experience to get that wiring on that particular person in the first place. So you can call that a soul. Like I'm okay calling that a soulmate, even if technically it's not an actual soul that was assigned to that person from the beginning of time, et cetera, et cetera. In a secular world, that works for me. And then this guy up here, the psychopath, like that Auntie's talking about, that we're drawn to, is because of the imprinting from childhood and the mirroring. Like, when I see them, there's so much mirroring coming back to me that I don't get from other people. I'm like, oh, good. Now I can use all this information to develop, because this is all the mirroring and feedback that I don't normally get. But it comes from these type of people, which, of course, it makes you wonder, well, am I a narcissist or sociopath too? And I feel like I would have more money if I did, because I would know how to lie and screw people. Like, all the narcissists and sociopaths I know how to lie and screw people over and not even blink about it. And I have not figured. I am so fussy about how I get my money, where it comes from. I have to feel like I earn it. I have to feel like I'm worthy of it, that it's coming from doing something good in the world, et cetera, et cetera. I can't just have it given to me. And so I feel like if I was a sociopath, I would not have all, like, that would, I would know how to exploit the system. And I would be running off of animal instinct, and I don't have those animal instincts to acquire material possessions. I never have, or to screw people over, or to use people as pawns on the chessboard. Let's see, Smith. I'm see the comments are going too fast. Half-ass edited. For Smith, do you have a channel? I'll promote it for you. I bet you make good content. Yeah, right, Frank. And Survivor is just another episode of Homo sapiens on Earth. Just another Lord of the Flies, state of nature. but not really, because there are higher human moments and spiritual moments even in shows like Survivor. That's why we keep coming back. Yeah, take care, Smith. All right. Well, if this is an experiment, like the community's kind of regrowing. So until we get panels going again and more regulars and stuff, the streams might be a little short. I'll try to keep them going for about an hour a day. But oh, Bex, I'm sorry. Well, I hope you feel better. If it helps you feel better, we'll probably be in the Discord watching stuff later. 38 special part 38. Well, you have a is your channel 6079 Smith? Can I look it up? Or you could come backstage and post a link if you want. Okay, I think I might have found it. Coronation, a 38 special. Let me see. Does it have copyright music or anything? Let me check it out first. Oh, no. It's I mean, I'll post the link. I'll do that. It's quite Smith is one of our favorite modern performance artists, and it is definitely in his genre. So if you enjoy Smith's work, you will probably enjoy this video. In fact, I can't wait to watch it myself. Oh no, I'm not saying you set it up or intentionally or anything. Some people just don't realize, and then or they don't get it on their channel for some reason, but I get it on mine when it processes. All right, Frank, what's on the plan today? I'll probably watch that Whitman video again this weekend, and I need to revisit it some more. It's super powerful, and there's that Nietzsche documentary that I'll show again too. I want to show more educational content to enrich people's minds. We have the drama for entertainment, and I'm trying to add in some intellectual content to enrich people's minds for your edification and erudition. Brokeback Alien, is that the is that the cow movie, the sci-fi? Sorry, my mic fritzed out. I don't know when it happened, but Smith, I tell you what, I'll look at it after this and see what I think, and then I can play it next time. I'll show it tomorrow or something. It goes out because my microphone cord's going out, and I need to get a new one, and I'm too lazy to go online and shop for one and figure out which one I need and which number and like how to get it and all that. All right. Well, we can end now, or I can go for 6 more minutes. Yeah. I didn't say you. No, I didn't say you were a Trumper. Not that there's anything wrong with being a Trumper, but I was just describing what I saw. That's all. I haven't watched it, but I will watch it after this is over. In fact, we can wrap it up now, and I can go get ready for that. So we'll be in the Discord looking at boobs and cows and Josh Brolin and whatever else. There's something for everybody usually. And I'll probably do a stream tonight. It'll be open panel. So we'll save the nerd stuff for the day streams. And then we definitely will be here tomorrow. And I'm not going to do I don't think I'll do topics on the weekend. So I'll pick back up Monday with looking at the actual levels of personality development from the Dabrowski perspective, which I think I've done a stream on before, but I'll recap them as a topic. I'm looking for it, Moose. If you can help me find it, I will gladly show it to you. I'm sure. So, oh, did I say? I did say boobs, didn't I? Well, I'm from New Orleans. And plus, we're trying to get more boobs on the stream anyway, so I'm trying to do my part. Maybe that's all the boobs y'all are going to get for now, but at least it's something. Yeah, so we do have that in our repertoire as well. All right. Oh, Lord, Daniel and DeFreak are going at it again. I wish there was a way to leave the chat room on and let the two of you fight with the little Jefferson bat, the little foam bat. That was... Those of you that grew up in my era and watched the Jeffersons, that episode where they were fighting, like not only were George and Louise fighting, but they were fighting with Helen and Tom, and they were all fighting each other. They got a therapist to come in, and she gave them these little foam Nerf bats on a stick, and she had to beat the shit out of each other. And they're just in that living room, just whacking each other with these bats, and they felt so good afterwards. They started laughing and getting along, and that's what people need, is some of those Jefferson bats. And so Daniel and DeFreak, I always said if I do my satanic monastery, which is my dream, there's going to be a mosh pit for dancing, and there's going to be a Thunderdome room for people to work out their conflict. And if you have a problem with somebody, take it to Thunderdome. There'll be some Jefferson bats up against the wall. There'll be a popcorn machine and some bleachers for everybody else. Maybe a cage if we need one. And there you go. So this is like the virtual version of that. Yes. And get this. We're planning a camping trip. We want to do a Panelverse camping experience. So we're daring. We just need to pick a place that everybody can get to conveniently. But yeah, this summer, panel camp. Well, I don't know about the only way, but some of that similarity is certainly due to our common genetics. My friend told me once, this was some of the wisest advice anyone has ever given. She said, Jeff, if you want to understand humans, go spend an afternoon at the zoo in front of the gorilla cage, or the monkey cage, and just watch monkeys all day long. You are going to see them do everything you see humans do on the bus, walking around town, in the office, talk, everything. You go watch those monkeys. It is going to blow your mind, the parallels you're going to find between them and humans. And I think that is a perfect thing to end the stream on. I will leave you with that. And if you need a monkey to start with, there's going to be one in Discord in about 5 minutes. So come hang out. All right. Take care, everyone. And we'll be here probably tonight, certainly tomorrow. All right. See you then. Let me get the music going. Oops. Mash the button. Phyllis, come on. Here we go. Hail Satan, hail yourself.